news. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yes, that's right. We are live on the radio, and it's great to have you with us on a Saturday. Thank you for being with us. 2 hours of infotainment is what we promise you every Saturday, and, well, we'll do our best to deliver. Me and a team of phenomenal professionals assembled every Saturday, and it's great to have you with us. Whether you're listening on the radio, that's 92.1, 101.7, the old terrestrial radio. Maybe you're listening on our free download, your iHeartRadio app. That makes us worldwide. Thank you for being there. And we also live stream on a Saturday. You can find us at a couple of places. Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Live streaming on a Saturday. Great to have you with us out the gates. If you're not there yet, well, you have time to get over and join us. Of course, on YouTube as well. That's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. Thanks for being with us live streaming. If you're not there yet, always remember that is home of a ton of informational little chunk videos for you to consume. Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. There's a toll-free number if you'd like to be a part of the program. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, you got us at 877-927-6969. The first voice you will hear are the melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy. Good morning to you, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny. Good to see you guys. Nice Saturday. Love it.
Yeah, it's very nice to see you as always, my friend. You've always been a real mother father in my life, so happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a compliment in a way. I'm your boy, Johnny C, Air Traffic Control. Let's get your starting lineup on a Saturday morning. Always nice. It feels like it's always special when I can say good morning to Jarrett Perry with Perry CPA and Group. I say special because it's either like well before tax time or after, because everywhere in between, Jarrett's somewhere around the country making things happen. How are you, my friend? Nice to see you.
I'm doing great, man. I think we got to start it off with a happy Mother's Day weekend for sure. So
Absolutely.
A happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. It's great to be here as always.
Nice to see you, buddy.
Nice to see you too.
And either chained to your desk or jet setting for sure.
That's right.
That's Jarrett's life.
That's
for
right.
sure.
That's right. You work hard, play hard.
Well said. That's exactly right. Always great to have the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm with us on a Saturday in studio. Mike Rauch, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Yeah, happy Mother's Day. Happy, and I concur, Jimothy is one bad mother father.
Just talking about Jimothy.
Thanks, Mike.
And great to see Jarrett. I haven't seen Jarrett in person in a while, so
I love
Good
you
to see
too,
you,
Mike. It's good to see you too, man.
Yeah, and if you're like, I want to see Jarrett, remember I told you a couple of live stream options, Facebook and YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. And of course, our fearless leader, y'all, been telling you for 11 plus years, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations, you'll find the Florida Home Pros team. And of course, my guy, Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how you be?
Happy South Florida, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be in the studio today. We have a super special edition of this show today because we're going to do a pilot for hopefully an upcoming sports show that's going to be coming on. We're hoping later this year. It's going to be featuring Jarrett Perry from the Perry CPA Group. And our special guest today coming in at 10 o'clock is going to be Aloise from Renegade Sports and Entertainment. He had 4 guys get picked up by teams to be looked at during rookie minicamp, and we're going to be talking about that with him, which will be really exciting. So, man, that sunset this morning was amazing. Sunrise this morning, sunset this morning was amazing. Right? That would be amazing.
You might hear that again.
That would be amazing.
It's like do this every now and then. This is fun. Just go stand in the parking lot or somewhere, just anywhere, like in the middle of the day, and stare up and have people come over and like stare with you. Just be like, man, the stars are beautiful. And they will look at you and they'll look back at the sky and look at you and look back at the sky and be like, man, I've just never seen stars like that. And they'll look back at you and they'll be like, how? And you'll be like, they're there. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're there.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Fun, huh?
How good is that weed do you have?
I know that sounds crazy town, but that's the way people deal with me in regular life anyway. It's like they just look at me as like,
how good is that weed?
What the heck?
trying to figure out what's going on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it was a beautiful morning this morning. I got up and with the sunrise, and the waves were a little rough today, not too crazy. You know what else I saw today? Little bits and pieces of the blob.
Oh no.
The seaweed finally started hitting our shore up in Singer Island on the north end of Singer Island. It wasn't a lot though.
But here it comes.
Yeah,
bro.
there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah.
What's
I
it called
think
again?
was like
The
13 million tons.
There's a ton of it out there.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Sargassum.
Sargassum. Yeah. Sargassum. Yeah. So we got a little bit of drips over there on the, on the north end of Singer Island. So I was like, oh, I wonder how much more is coming. But the ocean, because it was so rough, I think it's breaking it apart. So maybe it'll be better spread out than Jarrett. Supposedly there's enough stuff to make it go 3 to 5 feet high when it hits the shore.
There's a huge, I know it's a monster pallet of it out there, just a big blanket of it coming in. I'm sure there's a bunch of mahi.
United States. It's 5,000 miles wide.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
5,000 miles wide.
Do you see the fisherman and Jarrett thinking? He's like, oh, just think of the mahi hanging underneath that.
Mike's thinking the same thing. I think
there's a whole ecosystem.
Yes,
to that
there
thing.
is.
I was at the it's up near Juneau, right? Ross's territory. There's the turtle hospital.
Yeah.
It's they got a new building up there and you can go visit. It's actually a pretty cool kind of local thing to do. Maybe explore the turtle world. But they said the sargassum is where these turtles go and live most of their life, right? Unless they're coming to breed. They actually live in and around that thing because there's just it's a environment, right?
Yeah, it's got bait all over it.
Yeah,
and they go there to feed for sure.
It's really amazing. So the blob is coming. It finally is arriving on our shores.
Yay!
So we'll see how that goes.
When we were out on our cruise, we saw it all over the place.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
It was kind of because in our minds we said, well, it's the size of the United States, so we have this idea that it's one big pat, and it's not. It's just chunks of it all over the place.
It's almost like if you were to look over the Keys, and like the Keys where the where's the sargassum, right? Then
the islands,
you just see like spots of water, then sargassum and spots of water, and it'd be like dotted all over the place. But it's 5,000 miles wide supposedly, so that's pretty wild.
Sounds like a festival that would happen down in the Keys.
Yeah, sargassum. Yeah, the sargassum. Yeah.
Get your tickets today. It's Sunday.
That's right. We'll say the whole sea, but you'll only need the edge.
It's the best line ever in radio.
So I wanted to say thank you for everybody for supporting the Knights of Pythagoras Mentoring Network. We talked for 2 weeks on the show about the charity event. We raised enough supplies last Thursday from 10 to 12 at the Westchester Country Club in Point Beach for the kids that we filled a whole, I guess the equivalent of like a 15 passenger van. We filled it pretty good.
Sweet.
Like the whole van.
That's great.
So we got the kids lots of healthy after school snacks. We got them games to play and sports equipment, school supplies. It was an awesome event. We wanted to thank everybody that came out to help us. I've decided that this year we're going to continue with this charity throughout the year. So just if you missed out the last time, we're going to be taking donations for the charity all year long. And what we're really going to try to do, and I'm going to try to do a little more research, this outreach group called KOP Mentoring Network has been trying to get a 15-person passenger van now for like 5 years, and they just don't have the money. Last year, this group spent just $6,000 in the summer just for gas to get the kids where they need to go for all the summer activities. So we're going to try and either raise money or work with a local car dealership to get a van for free or to get it at a discount. And we'd like to raise funds in order to try to make that happen. We're going to go out for more details about this. So this will be a 24/7 charity push for the group. Jarrett, I'm so sorry. I was so busy the last 2 weeks. I really would have liked to have your networks and your connections help out with this group, and I just didn't have time. You might even have access to people that might be able to help them out pretty quick. This program is awesome, Jarrett. For 35 years, this is like kit for at-risk kids.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what's it for.
Yeah, so it's for at-risk kids. And what happened is one of my really good friends, C. Ron Allen, he formed this 35 years ago because he was a reporter for the city of Delray, newspaper reporter. And he was seeing all these kids getting in trouble and everything 35 years ago. And he's like, we've got to do something. So he met with the police chief and the mayor. and they took the three kids that were like the baddest kids in the area, like getting in trouble, scrapes with the law, having problems at school, and took Mr. Ceron took them under his wing. And he's a former military Navy guy, so it's all about discipline. Yeah, and those kids all ended up graduating school. They were definitely on the way to drop out. They all ended up doing really well. Then he turned it into a color guard, where it was just for boys that were at risk for being in trouble for the rest of their lives, and pulling them off the streets with after-school programs and activities. And then it turned into it got bigger and bigger because the community saw the great results. So
there's a lot of people that want to support those type of children, the underprivileged, at-risk children, for sure.
And the things that they're doing are amazing, Jarrett. Like one of my favorite trips that they took was they went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical School up north. And they got to actually do the fighter jet pilot simulation stuff. I mean, this is like really high level stuff. It isn't just like, oh, come play and play kickball.
Right.
They do that too, but they do all this other stuff. They have a weekly podcast now that's now on the local government channel called Community Conversations, all produced by the kids.
Wow.
So they do the production, the editing.
That's really cool.
The content, the interviews, booking the guests.
I would have loved to have gotten hooked up with Student Aces so they could have, they kind of do the same type of thing. They could have partnered up. So
and we can do that in the future.
This for sure.
It's been around 35 years. So I'm so happy for them. And Mr. Ceron came out to the event, which I wasn't expecting, and it was really great. There's a little Facebook thing on my personal page, Jim DePola. I haven't even had a chance to put it on my main page, but I will on Florida Talk Real Estate. And we'd love you to help this group. They are always on a shoestring budget. They don't get gigantic grants from the county and the state, although they try to get them sometimes. And they've documented that 4,000 kids graduated from the program. And what's happened is it isn't just impacting the kids now, because now it's spilling in. It's over the years. It's also spilled into the families to try to help the families out. And one of the things we're going to be doing is setting up, I'm hoping Mike will be involved in this, maybe even you, Jarrett. We're going to start doing some seminars to teach people how to use like government programs, or to try to get help to do things they need to do, like the student loan modification program. Awesome. There's so many probably that they don't even know about it that they can help. We're going to teach them about the down payment assistance, Mike.
Talk about credit too. Probably is a good conversation.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Yeah.
So we're going to start doing those seminars, and anybody else that wants to be involved in those seminars, like, hey, I want that too. I want that information. We'll let everybody know about those programs. So thank you so much for coming out and support, and we want to keep it going. So thank you. Let's see. Let me see. Okay. Just a couple of little quick shout outs because we got a lot to talk about today. I wanted to say that we've been putting a lot of people into the Hometown Heroes program and getting them set up into the Live Local Act. I talked to a teacher yesterday, Mike. You haven't been able to talk to her yet. She called because she's been listening to the show a little bit. She's not a super, long-term fan of the show, but she heard us talking about the government programs that we're using for down payment assistance a lot now.
Yep.
And she's a school teacher. So she said, I want to go ahead and give this a shot. We talked last night. I think I got my fingers crossed that she's on a very tight budget, like a lot of school teachers are. But I think because she's can qualify for a 55 and over community, that it gives her a lot more opportunities than some of the teachers I'm working with.
As far as price point.
Yes. And I really think that she's going to be jumping in that program. And Mike, no pressure, no diamonds. Her lease ends June 30th.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, so
that's plenty of time.
Oh, that's plenty of time for you to close.
It's plenty of time for me. It's you that have pressure, right? Like you got to find the right house.
I got 15 days because I got 15 days to find the house, so you have 30 days to close.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah, so
for sure.
I got faith in you.
And the good news is she's a teacher right now, so she already qualifies for the existing Hometown Heroes program. Right.
So just to give a super quick wrap up on that, we'll talk more about this later in little short videos on our YouTube channel. But the Hometown Heroes Act is a program that gives up to 5% of the loan amount on the house that you're buying or property that you're buying. You have to be a first-time home buyer. And as long as you can qualify conventional VA or FHA and you take the class, you get the 5%. It's pretty simple, but you have to have certain employment qualifications right now. And right now there's about 130 professions that are allowed to use this program. But now on July 1st, it's going to open up to all professions. So as long as you're a full-time worker, you're working full-time, you haven't owned a house in 3 years or more, and you're in the right income bracket, which is pretty liberal. What's the minimum amount for a single person? I think it's 105, roughly.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
I'm pretty sure it's 100.
I don't have it remembered.
I'm
Jim.
positive it's
Feels right.
105,000.
Feels right. It's a number you've said. And as far as employment, is it 2 years of employment in Florida full time?
And no, active full time.
Just
So
active
Oh,
full-time.
does the new full time law come into play when they broaden it for everybody? Is that what it is?
No.
Because why do I have that in my head?
I'm pretty sure that you can just be a full-time. Well, we don't know all the regulations for the Live Local Act yet.
Yeah,
So
they haven't come out.
They haven't come out.
Haven't come out with the the specific guidelines, right?
For
So
Live
if
Local.
you go based on the current guidelines, you just have to be actively employed, working full time. Now, does full time mean
one of those careers that are accepted?
Yeah, one of the
Right.
qualified professions.
Right,
Exactly. So what does full time mean? For me, it just means you work. That's your primary job, right? It doesn't necessarily. You don't have to. I think that maybe it's something like 32 hours a week.
Gotcha.
Minimum.
Okay.
So I don't think there's going to be any historical employment required to qualify from a profession perspective.
Gotcha.
Right. But just generally you need 2 years of work history, not on the same job, but 2 years or school.
General.
Yeah.
Very good.
But it's pretty exciting because it's going to open up needing cash is one of the biggest barriers to being able to buy a home. And so it really facilitates that aspect of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And here's a couple other things about that is I just had a mind blank, so we're gonna move on. But
I was gonna say details to be decided, but it's pretty big news in our world. And
I remember now.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago when you showed us how that money's being used for the Hometown Heroes program, so they put $100 million in there, and then Mike checked, and they found out that they used about 80 million of it, and there's 20 million left.
Yeah.
And that was over about almost, I think it was 9 months or a year they used that money.
Approaching a year, so into the first year of the program.
I checked last night for the research, 13 million available now. So they already burned through 7 million since 3 weeks ago.
Wow,
right?
it's going quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want to tell everybody, and this is why I'm calling the database like crazy right now and sending out emails constantly.
Yeah.
Apply now, get ready now. When you can't apply now because it starts July 1st, but get lined up. Let's get you to Mike. Let's get everything going, figure out what your budget is, and you need to be first in line because once it opens up to everybody,
right,
everybody's going to use it. So don't miss out.
Got to be proactive.
Yeah, Jarrett,
free money.
The 100, they've used 90% of the initial 100, but that was with the qualified profession. So now it's going to open up to every profession, and it's still funded at 100 million.
Wow.
So it's going to go, I
Probably
don't know how
6 months.
We don't know how much they're going to refund it or whatever. And it's meant to be available, right? It's meant to be available for Florida residents.
They use the word evergreen, right?
Yeah. They called it evergreen, but that could be every year.
Right.
I don't know.
Like maybe they use 100 million a year and that's it. Then you got to wait.
Evergreen means that it's constantly being replenished, just at what rate we don't know.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So get involved in this program if you can. Any profession, if you're a full-time person and you haven't owned a home for 3 years, right? You need to give us a call if you're thinking about buying a home, and we're going to find out if you qualify for that program and get you set up so that you're going to be first in line and ready to go.
Yeah, and I would say definitely don't, now's the time. We're approaching the point where you could be qualified now. Maybe we have a couple little wrinkles we need to iron out, and then you're going to be right in that slot. So I wouldn't wait. If you're going to be a homeowner this year, let's get the ball rolling.
Well, and if you are maybe you're just listening to this show because you enjoy the entertainment of the information. Thank you. Regardless of why you're listening, you can be a part of the show at 877-927-6969. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop. I mentioned that because you could be working with a different realtor or maybe different lenders. And if you're like, why are they not telling me about this? I'm in a profession that would qualify. Why? Well, you're not working with the right people, probably. You need to vet the folks you're working with tremendously, and definitely make sure you're working with people that are not only good at what they do, great at what they do. That's why I tell you to go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. But thank you for listening, regardless of why you're listening.
What were the requirements for that again? Is there a certain group besides the income, or you just that's the part I was missing there?
Current, it's employment.
Florida. What was the specifics?
Full-time employee.
Yep.
can't have owned a home for 3 years or been entitled to a home for 3 years. You're buying the house as a homestead. You can't do it for investment or second property, and income.
It's like a first-time home buyer, basically.
Yeah, basically a first-time home buyer. Am I correct, right, Mike, with all that?
Yeah,
and
that's correct.
And right now, it's your profession, but July 1st, it's open to everybody that's working full-time.
That's good.
And it's that simple.
That's really cool.
And the money, you don't have to pay it back. It isn't included as part of your mortgage on principal, like an interest accruing. It isn't like that. But you do have to pay the money back when you either refi, if you sell, or if you leave the house and turn it into, like, if it's not your primary residence anymore,
You convert it.
then you're supposed to give the money back at that point. So it's basically free money until you do something with the house, and you're not paying extra interest on it or anything else. And the cool part is when you give the money back, it goes back into the fund. That's part of the reasons why it's an evergreen, which means other people get to take advantage of the program. Yep. So everybody's helping everybody. This isn't, quote, just a handout and that's it. It's helping other people on the back end. So
is it Florida specific? Or is it?
Yes, it's a Florida program. We're going to try to get the state senator that created the Live Local Act. It's a senator down in Miami. We're going to try to get her on the air to give us more details about the Live Local Act. I just haven't had a chance to call her yet. So we're gonna have her on the air probably pretty soon.
Imagine the state of home ownership if they'd have done this 2 or 3 years ago. Imagine a state of home ownership for people living in Florida right now. Gosh, that would have been so amazing, right?
They would have had a little equity there. They would have been.
Yeah. 877-927-6969. Thank you for being with us on a Saturday.
Offering it.
Always, yes. Or it's beautiful. I love the expansion. Hometown Heroes was great for so many, but expanding to all in Florida, really cool. Really is advantageous.
Yeah.
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You can change lives. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. What are we doing next, Jimmy D?
We lost Mike. Hold on here a second.
I think I did that when I was looking up the guidelines.
Okay,
I closed that tab.
Yeah, I put you back in.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
Welcome back.
I was feeling lost myself.
On the stream.
Yeah, we lost
I got you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't see it, so I didn't see it. I saw panic.
Where'd he go?
I just didn't. I don't know why.
I wanted to do 2 other kind of shout outs. They're a little different than we normally do. The first one I want to do is give a shout out to Mike from me. Okay, to Mike for thanking him for teaching Jimothy so much about tax portability.
Yeah.
And Jimothy's thinking about selling his house and buying a new house in the future. And he's doing I love what Jimothy and his wife are doing. They're really knowing their numbers and doing everything we ask them to do.
Done.
And Jimothy really wants to know about tax portability.
Yep.
And it is complicated. A lot of people don't know about it. And it's a great way to save. Now, in your situation, Jimothy, what did you learn about tax portability for your home?
Well, the thing about it to me is I know you're saying it can be complicated, but once you learn how to do it, it is pretty easy. It's just simple, basic math, but you've got to understand where the decimal points go and at what point do you change it. So it's to me, it was pretty easy once Mike explained it, and you find out it makes a big difference. I mean, obviously the taxes can make or break what you buy, so I mean, it makes a big difference. It's just like homeowners insurance where, if you have to pay $3,600, $4,000, $5,000 a year in homeowners insurance, that makes a big difference in your monthly payment. Obviously taxes make a big difference too.
Yeah.
We've been in our house for 20 plus years. And homesteaded. So our taxes are fairly low, but we understand they're obviously going to go up when we go into something new. It all resets and everything. But that portability makes a big difference in keeping the taxes as low as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all about one of our things, Jim, is know your numbers, right? Because you have to know these numbers in order to make great decisions, right? So we're all about information, give people good information, make good decisions. And so predicting what your taxes are going to be is a big part of that. What can I afford question? Not what do I qualify for, right? That's my world. What can I afford? That's your world, right? You know your budget, what you're able to save based on what you're spending right now. Where can you tighten up? Where can you, what kind of space do you have? And so understanding portability, especially for existing homeowners in Florida, obviously that's where it applies. And being able to predict what the tax bill is going to be, more or less, and when it's going to jump up.
Yes.
Right. Because one of the things Jimothy is considering is doing his own escrows, right? So instead of having it built into the mortgage payment, and there may be some advantages, like when you're buying new construction, to doing it that way because of the way we estimate new construction taxes versus with the reality. But you got to be prepared for that bill when it comes in November, right? If you're doing escrows on your own, you can't get stuck and say, oh, wait a second.
I forgot.
I don't have enough money. So it's like Jarrett probably with self-employed borrowers. Like, wait, how much am I going to owe?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Let's do taxes differently, right? Because you just haven't prepared for it.
I've had a lot of people lately that I guess their realtors haven't been advising them to file their, for their homestead exemptions to get the tax breaks. So I don't know if that's something. I know, Jim, you obviously go over that with your customers and clients, but I don't think all the realtors do, because I've been having a lot of clients that are like, what is that? And I'm like, you definitely need to file it, not just for taxes, but for liability and for all these other reasons,
And one of the things we do, anybody that buys a house with us during that calendar year, right at the end of the year, we give them the link to where they need to go ahead and follow their homestead. You could do it online. It's that simple.
Right. Yeah.
But I knew of a person that didn't do homestead exemption all through the crazy boom that we had the last time, not the most recent one, but the 03 to 06, never homesteaded the property. The property increased by 40-50% in value, wasn't homestead protected at all. Their tax rate went up crazy. Then when the market started going down, that's when they claimed their tax exemption. So they took the whole appreciation and ate that for taxes, like have to pay it. And then they locked in at the high tax rate. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, because they lock it in whenever you file the application. So even if you bought it, 5 years ago, I'm assuming it's still based on when you file.
Yeah, these are all government programs that are used to help people save money. And that's what we're trying to teach right now. We know a lot of people are tight right now, and we're trying to show them how to use their money more wisely and
how to keep it. I mean, it helps you keep it. It prevents people from taking your house, right?
Yes. And also, like if you get sued or something with the homestead
creditor
exemption,
protected.
What do they call it? Like King's Castle law or something. It's like, that's your castle, and that you can't touch the home in Florida, which is why a lot of multi millionaires and billionaires move here specifically for that reason.
Dump the money into their primary residence, into life insurance policies, and they can't, be sued for any of it.
Can't touch it.
They have income coming and they got their home, so they're good.
Let's move on to another shout out for Mike. This is double Mike shout out today. I wanted to talk to you about how Mike saved the day. No, he didn't, but it wasn't Mike's fault. And I want to give him a shout out because he almost saved the day for this family. And it's a very important thing for people to know when they're trying to do a new construction deal. And this is very important. So, Mike, can you set up what happened with this family?
Well, I got it. The first thing is I got a call from a real estate agent that I work with who knows and trusts me. And we've done deals together through the years. I actually did when she did her personal home, right? I helped her with that loan. And so I got a call from her saying, hey, listen, I've got a guy who's like, last minute getting denied on his financing for a new construction home up in PSL. And I said, okay, well, that's not good. Yeah. Right. I hear that more often than I'd like. Right. Hey, we're late in the game. We're supposed to close. She's talking like we did the walkthrough yesterday. Right. We did the walkthrough and the lender's still I'm not surprised to hear the story, but I hate to hear that story. So I said, just like anything, well, what's going on? Okay. Yeah. Here's their concerns. Okay. Let me take a look. Let me get a look at it. And so I started gathering documents, got documents from this lender. The builder's preferred lender was the one who stretched it all the way to you think you're nearing the tape and then they're like putting up a brick wall in front of you. You can't finish the race. Yeah. And then I guess they use.
So I just want to make sure. So we're at the period where you have to close. The house is built. They did the final walkthrough.
Yeah.
And then the developer's lender tells them 9 months probably while they were waiting for the house to be built. Oh, by the way, we can't give you the loan.
And I think this was one they hadn't been on for the 9 month period, but then maybe they like 3 months. The home maybe started with someone else and then came, or maybe they just. One of those scenarios.
It wasn't a construction loan. It was
right. They're buying the finished, the finished loan.
And all of a sudden, at the last minute, can you imagine your lender saying, "Sorry, I can't give you the loan"?
And it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah.
It's almost never like all of a sudden. It's usually we're not clear yet. Oh, let me ask you for this, or no, we need to get this in back in front of the underwriter. Oh, I don't know. Oh, we need that. You kind of start to get this slow kind of request for stuff, and that there's something's like, wait, why aren't we clear yet? Like, why aren't we clear to close? And so ultimately, And it ended up, so they went to the first lender's like, no, we're not going to do it. Right. We're denying. They go to their backup. They use a national, spaceship company as their backup.
Okay.
Send it to
I
them.
called Scud Missile.
And I'm telling the agent, I said, listen, if this other one choked on it, believe me, Scud Missile was going to choke on this. And of course they came back and it's like, yeah, the underwriter says no. And I'm looking at it and I see the complication. It has to do with he's self-employed, has to do with income.
Always.
What is a perceived decline in income from one year to the next, which would be bad news, right? If you got your own business and your business, your income declines by 10% or more, that's like a red flag. Like, wait
strong.
a second, trend, wrong trend.
Right.
We need equal or upward. But when you got into how you analyze the self-employed income, there's things that you can use to optimize. Jarrett, this is perfect for Jarrett, right? Depreciation, right? We're allowed to add that back as income, but do we have to? If someone drives mileage on their car, or guess what? We can add that back as income, Johnny. So if you drive, 30,000 miles a year for your car and you depreciate that, we can add it back at, 25 cents a mile.
They just have to pay it out of my understanding has been they just have to pay that car payment, right? Isn't it important that they have a history of paying it out?
That's a different thing. Like, so, that's excluding the debt payment on the car, but this was just simply about calculating income and we're able to add back depreciation. The question is, do you have to add it back?
Right.
Like, it's a benefit, Johnny. I can make your income look a little bit better if I add back these depreciable items, but I don't have to. And when I don't, guess what? He didn't have a decline in income, Jim. And so it was as straightforward as, hey, I don't think I have to do this stuff to like maximize his income for 2021 versus 2022. Right. And we're getting to the nitty gritty, but it was something where if somebody knew what they were doing and like presented it in the right way, we could have got it done. So at the end of the day, yes, I could have done the loan.
Well, so that's what I was just going to ask you.
Saving the day.
Wait, so that's what I say. So Super Mike,
right.
Did Super Mike,
Mike,
so you closed the deal, right? You closed the deal for the family, right? You saved
in my
the
mind,
day.
I did. I was celebrating. I was like, yeah, we got this. Jackie, the agent, I'm like, we got this, right? She's like, no, Mike, they're already done. They're putting the home back on the market.
The developer's putting the home back on the market.
I was like, oh, they're putting it back up, right? Like, shoot, they're not going to give them a chance. Like, it was their lender who kind of dropped the ball on this. Like, they're putting it back on the market. Well, okay, make an offer, right? Like, get back into contract, right? The thing was, I think it was like, whatever, 480 purchase price, something like that, which is pretty. Imagine this family, like they think they're
buying
moving
a new
in.
home.
They think they're moving in. It's it's like nightmare.
Well, it's been being built. Like,
they've probably been in there.
They've probably been in
finishes.
construction.
But had they been a little more proactive, you're saying, on the financial side?
Oh yeah. I did save the day in one part. I'll get to that. So they're putting it back. I said, well, whatever. So you got a shot. Go out, make an offer, like get back in. Guess what? They priced it up $30,000, right? So they went. So this builder relisted it and put it. Now I don't know if it's in contract yet or not. So not only did they deny the loan for this guy, when I see why, but it could have been done. They also are really not giving him another crack because he's like, wait a second, I was just in contract to buy. Can you imagine that? Like, I was just in contract to buy this thing and now you bumped up the price. You think I'm going to go to this new price? No, I'm not going to do that. But here's the kicker. They also tried to keep his earnest money deposit.
Oh, and that's where the scary part is about not knowing your numbers.
Yeah, and I don't want to like villainize the builder because they have contracts per the contract. His financing, like he had a period amount of time to get it approved. That part happened. At the end of the day, the lender though could not approve it, and there were things that they should have spotted like early. They should have never been last minute. Because this tax return they had it for weeks. Right. So the way that I kind of saved the day, Jim, was that I armed the agent with some talking points for really turning the screws on the builder to say, wait a second, this is the sequence of what happened. This is the things where you guys, your preferred lender, not the builder, there's some separation there, but your team dropped the ball on this, and now you're going to try and hold this guy's money hostage,
and you're highlighting,
and you're not even letting him buy it,
and
right. And so I gave her. I don't know if that was what put it over the line. He did get his earnest money deposit back. He is going to be resetting and buying something else, but at least I saw that letter, the escrow release letter for the cancellation. and it's like, we are retaining this. And I'm like, whoa. Wait a second. They're not going to let him out of this. They're not going to let him, which per the contract,
And
they
they're
didn't have
putting
to.
the house on the market for more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
So yeah, I that is not the first time Mike had a similar story to this. In fact, I had to call Mike yesterday and say, Mike, was that when I heard you tell me that story, was that from a few months ago? Because something similar happened to somebody else.
Yeah. And I may
And-
have saved the day on that one.
Yeah,
I
I
forget.
think you did
Let me
save it.
this Jarrett is here. So think about this, Jarrett. You're the tax preparer, right? Yeah, you did his taxes in 2021. You did his taxes in 2022 very recently. He's buying a home, and it looks like there's a major decline in income because of some things. So the tax preparer,
I wouldn't have filed as 22 if he was buying a home yet.
oh my God. Number one, have you
It's so
filed
simple.
yet?
Yeah,
No, I haven't filed. Okay.
I would have said, reach out to Mike.
Yeah, let's put it on extension. We don't have to file. Or if you're going to file and you're going to owe money, this
Well, if
is
you owe money,
self-employed.
yeah.
And you're going to, let's just extend it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
pay
let's
the
get
tax.
through closing, pay some sort of installment
Estimate.
or whatever,
Yep.
and let's get through closing. Like, the tax preparer should have been advising on this stuff. And instead, they're just like, oh, deadline's coming. Let's just file. Oh, give me your receipt. Like, not even thinking about the consequences.
Yeah,
So
they don't ask those questions. We that's part of our questionnaire is like, are you selling a house? Are you trying to get a loan? So that we can make sure we nip that in the bud.
And I'm going to be buying a home later this year. So this is what our team does, like to help our buyers, especially if they're self-employed, because we know how difficult sometimes it is to get a loan self-employed, because the income that you report isn't necessarily always a reflection in the best light that you need in order to get the house you want. So I sat and talked to Mike about what price points I thought I'd be at. Mike told me what income I definitely needed to be at. Then I went to Jarrett and talked to him about making sure that we structure it so I could get the loan later when I need it.
So
Right.
just so I can make sure, because I want to make sure everybody's following along. You can report taxes. Everybody wants to pay as little in taxes as possible, right?
Right.
But when you're self-employed, by doing that, might not show a ton of income, which you need to do as a self-employed borrower if you're trying to get a loan for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah,
Right?
Correct, but
it's-
you could have say you bought a car and it was part of your business and it was $40,000 and you were showing $100K before you bought the car. You buy the car, you take full depreciation, it meets all the requirements, the 6,000 pound threshold to take the full depreciation. So now you're only showing 60 instead of 100, right? So that 60 reduces your taxes drastically. But for the mortgage, a lot of brokers would be looking at the 60, where Mike understands to add back that 40 for the depreciation on the asset, and they're going to base it on the 100.
And Jarrett knows to take that depreciation in a category that I'm able to add back from a mortgage perspective, right? So there's a ways of taking deductions, and probably, I don't know, 90 out of the 100 deductions aren't ones that you can
Do that with. Yeah.
add back with the mortgage, as far as qualifying how we analyze income. But there are certain categories that we're able to kind of give you credit for this kind of perceived, like depreciations is a little bit of a nebulous loss, right? So it's actually not a loss. It's just it's a loss on paper. So that's
book the tax difference.
Yeah. And I in general with self-employed borrowers, the name of the game is almost always take advantage of as many deductions that the IRS allows. Like, so you're within what's legal. We're not talking like gray area. This is very black and white.
And Mike,
stuff.
sometimes it's telling them to report all of their income, which they're supposed to do anyways, but maybe it wasn't hitting their bank account and they weren't showing it because they were just adding their deposits, and they got paid in cash.
Sure. Yeah.
They
I
need
mean,
to be reporting all of their income so that they can qualify for it. So that's part of the proactive part.
and it's like, so when you're filing self-employed, usually it's reduce my taxable income. So therefore the tax burden is as low as possible. And that's oftentimes what CPAs talk about. Like, hey, we're great at this. We're going to help you pay just the right amount of taxes, just the right, not too little, not too much, but just right. When it comes to qualifying for a mortgage, obviously you want to qualify with as much income as possible, right? Like just a general statement, as much income and as little debt as possible. And, but there's ways to get the best of both worlds, as long as you know what you're doing and you have professionals who like, are you buying a house this year? Okay. Are you going to buy a house in the next 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the next 2 years, then you can plan. For
Yes,
it.
exactly.
You know.
So if you're listening to this and you're self-employed and you're thinking you're not getting a loan, or you're listening to this and you go, and I'm being honest with you guys, I don't understand what Mike and Jarrett's saying about the nitty-gritty details of how to process all this stuff. You're not talking to the right people. You got to call this team, because this is what we do. We have everybody, all the different disciplines working together as the one-stop real estate shop for you to get the best results you can.
That's right. So it's really focusing on two things that we say all the time. And we're going to jump into a break here real quick, right? But two things that we focus on all the time. You got to know your numbers. And I tell you all the time, there's people that are, people that are good at what they do. You need to go to people that are great at what they do. When you're dealing with buying a home, selling a home, if you're stuck with a home and you don't know what to do, this is going to be the biggest purchase sale of your life. Maybe you're like, oh, I've done it before. Yeah. And maybe you got real lucky. There are little potholes that you don't see. Every situation is like a snowflake. They're all unique in their way. You got to have people that know what's going on in all of those very unique situations. Florida Talk Real Estate is a.com. Your one-stop real estate shop. I'm sending you to pros. These are experts in their field. And you can hear the conversation here today. They work cohesively together, picking up the phone. What's going on with this? Jarrett, Jim, Mike, Ross, I need answers to this very crazy situation. Boom, it's fixed. The wrinkles are smoothed out. And we're back on path. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Go to people that are great at what they do. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. 4 minutes from now, we get back at it. What are we getting into, Jimmy?
Oh, no. Let's continue to 9:56. Okay. I'm sorry. When we say we're not to do the 9:30 break.
Yeah, right.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
What are we doing now then?
No, but I'm glad that you said all that. Jarrett, I wanted to, since we're talking about CPA stuff right now, I know that you work with a lot of athletes, right, for the Perry CPA group.
Yep, absolutely.
And one of the things that I love, and you're the CPA to the stars, according to Sports Illustrated. How many times you been in Sports Illustrated now?
I've done multiple publications with Sports Illustrated and their subsidiaries.
Yeah,
and by the way, they stole that from me.
I know they did. We
Yeah,
came up
from
with
me.
it, and they must have listened to something, and then they stole it, and then they took it, which I'm very happy with. I love that they
We'll
call
get 'em
you.
back
They
later.
get it.
It isn't every day Sports Illustrated calls you CPA to the stars, right?
No.
So,
Not once,
No,
twice,
I'll
but
take
three
but
times.
for
yeah.
Jarrett, it's a few times, right?
Yeah.
I
So-
feel like multiple people could come up with that independently, though. It's like, hey,
Oh.
Jarrett Perry, he's the best,
he needs
right?
he
Thanks
needs
for taking that
to.
all away from me.
That
man.
hurts. That hurts, Mike. Gotta
Yeah.
tell you.
It's
Yeah,
basically
my buddy
saying,
Johnny
you're
over here.
just pointless. I don't even know why you're here, Johnny. I don't even know why you're here.
There's no new ideas in this world, Johnny.
You
Come on,
need
somebody.
to trademark that CPA to the stars,
I
right?
do.
So,
for sure.
So one of the things that you do, I want to talk about little different aspects that you, not little, impactful aspects that you do that are kind of granular that most athletes don't even know how to save money. And one of the things is, congratulations, you just went pro. Why residency matters.
Yeah.
Just because you get picked up, let's say, by the Oakland Raiders or the Tennessee Titans
LA.
or the New York Jets or LA, right? LA Chargers or something like that.
Vegas.
Which one of our
Oakland.
players just
Vegas.
got picked up
LA.
by the LA
No, it's
Chargers.
Vegas.
If you were,
Wait, who's on?
It's the Raiders.
if you were,
Sorry.
yeah, that's okay. So with the residency, residency,
Matters big time.
I'm having a
you're
hard time
right
saying.
because if a lot of them go out and buy a house where they sign,
Right.
and that's what I think you're getting the point to is that you don't want to automatically buy your primary residence where you sign for multiple reasons, but a big part of it being the state it affects what you take home, your net paycheck.
the state income tax.
Yeah, is drastically affected by your residency,
Mhm.
and if you buy a house in the state that you're employed in, it's very hard to argue anything other than that's my primary residence,
Mhm.
so it's based on the facts and circumstances, but of the situation. So you can play with a team in California and still be a Florida resident. We have tons of clients that have done that. And the reason you do that is to kind of shift the income with those state income taxes, which can be drastically different, right? California's 13% extra. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Nevada, Washington all have no taxes.
So just the fact that you live in one state for the other state, you're paying 13% more on your income, on your reported income than if you were living in the non-state income tax states.
And the state of Washington is one of those?
Yeah,
How
Washington.
is that like not the leader of where everybody's going?
Yeah.
Gosh,
Washington or
the state
Florida?
of Washington is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Yeah, if you like the rain.
Yeah,
I lived up there.
Yeah, it is.
You know, our family left. We were in northern Oregon, but same thing. We were up there, rained 267 days straight. And then we had a drought, and my dad was like, "We're out of here, right? We're out of here." So,
but was it like a rain, like a
it's
Florida
beautiful.
rain, like where it just comes
Nope.
through and then goes
it's a
away?
drizzle all day long.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mist that falls all day long. It never stops. So when I say 267 straight, it's like
Yeah.
you were wet all the time. They had the black ice and all that other stuff at that time.
I like the
Yeah.
Florida and the Tennessee and Texas weather. I think.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a really big deal.
But
I mean,
it's
13%.
Yeah, it's taxed based on where you earn it. So, you know, it's going to get allocated, but there's things you can do to shift it. So if you're a Florida residency and you get, you know, endorsement income or a signing bonus or something like that, all that income is going to be taxed to your residency state if you handle it the right way and avoid that extra 13%.
So just to make it up, let's say I'm with the Chargers, like one of Paul's guys that's going to be meeting is just got
Paul
picked up today.
Yep.
So if somebody's at the Chargers and then they get an endorsement deal and they live in California, they're going to pay the California state income tax for that endorsement deal, even though it's not related to football. But if they live in Florida and they're playing for the Chargers and then they get the endorsement deal, there's no income tax paid because they live in Florida, even though that they're playing for the Chargers.
That's correct. And if you live in California, even though when you're playing your games in other taxable states, right? You're taxed based on where you earn it, but your residency state actually taxes all of your income and then gives you a tax credit for the other states, which is going to be way smaller. So you're still stuck paying if you're a California resident, California rates on all of your income.
Everything.
So
it really doesn't matter if you're that type of resident, but if you're a resident of a non-income tax state, there's obviously major benefits to it.
Do you ever talk to players, Jarrett, who are saying like, yeah, I don't mind that? Like the questionnaire is, how do you feel about state income tax? And they said, no, I want to contribute to my state's revenue
as much as I can.
Right?
I want to pay more.
No, but a lot of them I think could qualify as residents. You know, they come home and they just don't do it the right way. They're staying too long after the season and they're not coming back right after the season to get, you know, so the number of days makes sense, and they have to have their registrations and their licenses and their primary doctors and all that stuff. I mean, it's based on the facts and circumstances.
And Jarrett gives it. I've watched him with the athletes he works with the accounting. I've watched him call up the people and say, you're not spending enough time down here, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. It's amazing watching it when you go in his office and seeing him treat the customers like this in a great way and like really caring about what they do.
Well, that's what it boils down to, is caring for
it
their
does.
outcome. Yeah.
So we want to make sure they understand, like, it's not just, oh, you got to be a Florida resident, but if they ever get challenged on it, which they do, they have to be able to support it. So, you know, we want to make sure they have everything done the right way, so that if they ever come back to ask them for, you know, the proof, which the states do, you know, they know these guys' names, they know they're playing in their states. So
yeah, and you're not doing it to be a pain in the butt. You're doing it to say, like, hey, if we get pushback, and it is a we, because you're on their team. If we get pushback, we need to be in a position to be like, hey, this is how and why.
We had one of our clients that went to play for a team, and he basically had a big signing bonus with that team, and he decided not to go play for the team, and they paid him the signing bonus. The state, we'll just call it XYZ state, paid him. You know, the state didn't pay him. The team in that state paid him call it $5 million signing bonus, right? But he never spent any days in the state, and the team withheld state income taxes on his paycheck of close to $500,000.
But his homestead was in a non-income tax state.
Is in Florida,
right?
And so his homestead's in Florida. it was a guaranteed signing bonus, which is considered earned when you sign the contract, unlike a lot of signing bonuses where you have to repay it if you quit or you leave the team or whatever. So if it would have been that type of signing bonus, it still would have been subject to taxes based on where it was earned. But since he spent no days in that state, in XYZ state, and since, it was a guaranteed signing bonus, we've appealed it to go back and get him the taxes refunded. And we've successfully done that with the clients in the past before. So we're very confident that we'll be able to get him his money back as well in this situation. So
if, and I want to get to, I want to do fines before we break, which is 5 minutes. But the last thing I want to wrap up with this is that most of these people are very young people. They're they're 20, 21, 22 years old. They've never had real money before. Most of these kids are not coming from wealthy families.
And they don't teach them this stuff anywhere. It's not like this is something they're educated on.
They just think about sports and trying to get on the team and focus on what they need to do in order to perform at a high pressure. So the thing is, if you're thinking that I don't understand any of this stuff going on and you're an athlete, you need to be calling Jarrett and find out what's going on and have Jarrett go through everything. And one of the other things Jarrett does, and this is how he got his Sports Illustrated, one of the ways, is he'll go back retroactively and try to claw back the money if he can.
For sure.
So that's really important. So don't think, oh man, I that didn't, I can't take advantage of this. It's already done. Jarrett can come back and maybe claw it back.
Yeah. I mean, guys, any of the guys that have had fines or suspensions, any of that stuff, we definitely have handled regularly and go back and amend the returns for them to get them refunds, depending on how the team reports it. And you'd be surprised. A lot of the teams will report suspended pay when they never earned it as income. And they end up paying like a triple fine. Basically, they don't get the fine money that they were fined. So if you're fined $100,000, you don't get the money. You have to pay federal taxes on it, state taxes on it, Medicare taxes on the money you never received. And so it's basically a triple fine. So we'll go back and get those taxes back for those guys. Even if they've already filed, we can go back 3 years and amend for the returns and get the money back.
And you do need a cooperation from the teams to make that happen?
No, the teams won't. They should be reporting it correctly. So, typically the IRS would want an amended W-2 the teams won't amend it. We have our ways of handling that with the states and with the IRS.
Just a black Sharpie.
Yeah. We attach schedules, citing code sections and things like that. And
so you're not handcuffed to them and their cooperation.
If we were handcuffed that way, it would make it extremely difficult because they take a position that they attach, please consult with a tax advisor, and that covers them,
right,
on the whole thing.
So yeah, you're really highlighting why you do need people that are great at what they do. Perry CPA and Group is fantastic. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You can remember that easily and easily get connected to Perry CPA and Group. That's phenomenal. And working with the agents, I'm sure, is real important in regards to a lot of these tax situations as well.
100%. Not all of them are very open to it. Some are more receptive to the information, which is the type of people we like to work with, but we have clients that are with all different types of agencies. So we have to find a way to try to work with all of them. But that's a big part of it, is being proactively and having the right contract language in there and having the agent understand the same types of stuff. And
we're going to go ahead and be talking to one of those agents that you like working with in just a little bit after the break. We're going to be talking to Paul Aloise from Renegade Sports and Entertainment, which is going to be awesome. If anybody's wondering why we're talking so much sports today, let me just give this little blurb about it. Keller Williams is the largest brokerage in the country. We have over 200,000 agents. We're in something like 44 countries. Do you remember what she said? 67 or 44 countries? I couldn't even remember.
There was a 6 in the first number.
Yeah, maybe 60-something countries now.
I thought.
It's really crazy. And they started what's called a sports and entertainment division, Keller Williams, a worldwide group, and you have to be a select realtor. And I was selected. There's about 1,000 of us in the country right now.
That was about a year ago, right?
It was about a year ago.
A year ago?
Just a little over a year.
Yeah.
And so I was blessed enough in order to be selected as part of this elite group. We specialize in helping athletes find housing, deal with investment properties, commercial investing, and also even teach them to start a real estate career if they want a career after whatever sport they're in. We
Right.
teach them from ground up on how to do that. And
it's a powerful network because they've been able to help our clients buy houses in multiple different states, so it's not just here in Florida. I trust Jim. I can refer one of my clients to Jim. Jim will vet other agents in other states. And
we
right?
did one for Justin. I don't want
Yeah.
to use his last name, but Justin, what team does he play
was
for? I forget.
Chargers.
Right. I thought so. Yeah. So one of the Los Angeles Chargers wanted to buy a house in a state he had never lived in. Because he had relatives there and he really didn't know the area very well. So we got him in with the top agent out there, got the property, super happy. And we do that all day long.
Yep. Very good. We got a ton more to get into. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Quick little reset. We come back. We will have Paola Aloise with us with Renegade Sports and Entertainment. Of course, Jarrett Perry Group CPA, and Jimmy D. That's Jim DePola. Mike Rauch, you're going to be parting ways?
Checking out.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Hey, same to
Happy
your
Mother's Day,
mom.
Mike.
Thank you
And wait.
very much.
And
Yeah.
thank you again for your help too, Mike. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
The mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. One of the great professionals you can get at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Back 4 minutes from now. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
Got something to say? I got something to say. Text us at 47142. Start your message with Real Radio. Standard data and message rates apply, and don't text while driving.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. A warm and breezy afternoon with a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures will remain in the mid to upper 80s. Will stay partly cloudy this evening with a few coastal showers by Sunday morning. And a warm Mother's Day with afternoon highs in the mid to upper 80s with a stray afternoon thundershower possible.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Biggie Bag. When you think Wendy's Biggie Bag, think your go-to meal deal with your choice of JBC, double stack or crispy chicken sandwich, plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. Biggie hits every time. So grab a Biggie Bag today. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's it. 877-927-6969. Toll-free number. We got another hour for you on a Saturday. Got a question, comment, concern in the world of real estate or quite possibly the world of sports and entertainment as we're going to shift a little dramatically on this Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment. The second hour is going to get a little bit more sportsy and entertainment. Infotainment. Here comes some of that tainment with some info. Johnny C, that's me. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. Your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, and share it. Jimothy's our producer extraordinaire. Great to have you with us, as always, my friend.
Hello, and good morning, gentlemen.
On this very special Saturday, we've had Jarrett Perry with us. That's Perry CPA Group. Always great to have Jarrett with us, man.
Always great to be here. Good to see all you guys. Good to see you, Paul.
Maybe get you back into Sports Illustrated here before too long.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as we noted, CPA to the stars. Not only mentioned on this show time and time again, but Sports Illustrated mentioned it I think 3 times at this point. Is it 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times.
Very good. He said, good morning to Paul. That you're like, Paul,
I kind of jumped the wheel there. Sorry about that.
People are like, Paul,
excited to see him.
So if you're streaming with us, thank you. Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook, or you can find us on YouTube as well. Florida Talk Real Estate LLC, 2 live streams. And you're like, wait, Mike changed. In Mike Rauch's seat, we now have an NFL PA certified contract advisor and lawyer, and also owner of Renegade Sports and Entertainment, the Paul that Jarrett refers to. Paul Aloise is with us. Good to have you in studio, my friend. Heard your name a bunch. Pleasure to meet you on this Saturday.
Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to be here. I've got to hear a lot about you all as well and see you guys. So it's an honor to be here.
Well, it's good to have you in the mix. We're going to have a bunch to talk about here. I do got to say, great to have you back in the mix, our fearless leader, Jimmy D. Now, Jim DePola, yes, with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. And as we did mention before we go to break, KWSE, that's the Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division. You were selected as some of the top tier. I mean, there's a very limited group involved with KWSE. Jimmy D, how you be?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about this day because for about 1.5 years now, I've been trying to come up with get these two in the room together.
Good luck.
Because we're trying to start a sports show. This is what we're going to do with iHeartMedia. We've been talking about forever. So once these guys get their stuff together, we're going to do a sports show. We have no idea.
I.e. time on their calendars.
Yeah, I know. We all such a slackers, right?
Uh-huh.
But we got to figure out what the heck the name is going to be called. We've tried. What do we call it, Jarrett? You mentioned
we had toyed around. Yeah, we had toyed around.
We did no holds barred, everything. Now I think I came up with the name while we're just sitting here. We're going to call it the No Name Sports Show.
Perfect.
Because we can't figure out. So if you have any ideas for a good sports show name, give it. Let us know on Facebook or YouTube.
There you go.
We'd love to hear your ideas because we have come up with not a lot right now. Paul, how did you get into sports agency? I always wondered how agents become agents. So tell me the background on that.
So when I was first really, when I first moved to Florida, I was
Mhm.
probably about 8, 9 years old, and I was playing on a Little League baseball team in Martin County. And my coach at the time was Mark Rogers, who
Mhm.
now has grown and rose to fame as Russell Wilson's agent.
Okay.
But at that time, he was most famous for negotiating Mike Hampton's $100 million MLB contract.
Huh.
And he actually used to bring, different Major League Baseball players to my practices. So at that young of an age, I see this guy who is working with professional athletes, who was a lawyer, and that was kind of the early inspiration of it.
Pretty cool. Pretty
That's really
cool. And
cool.
then when you went to college, you went to FSU,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then you also played football at FSU, correct?
Yes.
So what coaches did you play for back then?
So my freshman year at Florida State was actually Jimbo Fisher's first year taking over the program.
All right.
So it was a big change in the guard moment.
Huge.
And, that year, I believe, was the first year we had 10 wins. And, we really kind of stepped back into the national spotlight. So very early on in my college career, I got to play with, future NFL players, future first round picks. And so that was something that, though I always had an interest in working with athletes, now I'm around some of the top athletes in the world. So that was just truly a once in a lifetime opportunity to be around these athletes on a day-to-day basis
Mhm.
and kind of get in their mind a little bit and understand what they like, what they don't like, and really where they're headed once they get done with their college careers.
It wasn't just like, the normal Florida State team. Paul was there when they won the national championship. So
I was going to say, so because of that, Jimbo got pretty good, pretty quick.
Yeah. So if you think back to when Jimbo came, it happened pretty quick.
So you got the ring, right? You
Yes.
got the ring.
And I like
That's
how
all
Paul
that
said
matters. Right?
learning the mind of these athletes. Brother, that's you. You're on the team.
Yeah, he is one of them.
You're there with them on the team.
He's always very humble when he talks about his
Yeah.
football career. What do you say? You always call, at least when you've talked to me, you call yourself the bench warmer. Oh, don't worry about me. I was a bench warmer. That's
Right,
what he
just
says.
sprinting
But,
sprints.
No
but
way.
he got
He
the ring.
walked on at Florida State as a linebacker, man. That's pretty impressive.
I know.
I
That's what you
appreciate it.
gotta. In order to make the team, you gotta be somebody, and you got the ring too. So
He does have the ring.
everybody could, you know what, they could all do.
And
Thank
now the Renegade makes a whole lot of sense for those that are like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
So Renegade is what the horse's name, right?
Yes.
The I don't want to say
The
mascot, but
Osceola rides
Osceola
Renegade.
rides
That's correct.
Renegade, right?
Absolutely.
You
No,
just
you
taught
got
me
it.
something. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
That
so
is the
Chief
inspiration for it.
Osceola rides Renegade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's how you
And
go.
he'll come out with the spear and get,
Yeah.
Doak Campbell fired up.
Nothing more exciting than that, right, Johnny? I know how
Oh,
much you love that.
yes. That's
Johnny's a Gator fan.
Yeah.
Thrills me. Why'd you have to tell Paul that? We're doing so well.
We started off good.
Yeah, I didn't. There was no friction. I just kind of threw it in there.
I was even being nice. I'm like, oh, Renegade. It's,
So, and speaking of FSU specifically, you had did you have 4 or 5 people that were trying to get into the NFL draft? It's just a couple weeks ago. I forget. Was it 5 players?
Yes. So myself, along with another agent that I co-rep a lot of players with, Tanner Simpkins, we ended up representing 5 players who were 2023 draft prospects. And really what that means is that, they have now decided to finish their college career. Now, most of the time, the athletes have either exhausted their eligibility or are, a top recruit, highly regarded recruit coming out of college, and they leave, a little bit early. So we actually had a mix of athletes who had completed their college eligibility and some players who just felt like it was time to go into the draft.
And one of the big success stories for that was Pokey Wilson, right, from FSU, the wide receiver.
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. Pokey and his family are just fantastic to work with. I got introduced to them, several years ago, just helping. I'm still close with the Florida State program.
Of course.
And so when they need help with certain matters, they reach out. And so, I got in contact with him and his family, a couple of years ago, and then started working with him for NIL purposes. And then so over the last year and a half was really building that relationship with him and his family, helping him get some social media deals, doing an autograph signing in Tallahassee at the Garnet and Gold store, really just trying to help get his name into the community, help put some extra money in his pocket, so that he can continue to have a successful last college career by getting some of these NIL deals. And then now, fortunately enough, we were able to get him signed as a priority free agent to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, and Paul kind of underplays it a little bit. I mean, when Paul says he helps Pokey, I mean, Paul, when I see him interacting with Pokey's family, I mean, he's basically, it seems like he's part of their family. He's close with all of his clients. And that's one of the things I really love about working with Paul, is that he really does take pride and take heart in his clients and puts it all out there for them.
And another thing is ethics, because I've watched Paul work
100%.
with his players. Number one, he's very discipline oriented, so he kind of makes sure that there's guardrails on everything so things don't get too crazy. Paul, I've worked with Paul, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, with some draft parties. And Paul is very on top of his game and knows what's going on. And he always wants to do the right thing. So he's very detail oriented. And that's one of the reasons why he's sitting in the chair right now, because everybody in this room all the time, they all have to have their customers' interest comes before their own interest. And then we profit from that, if we do, from the success of our customers. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So I'm really
and the building relationships. So like all big success stories in especially professional worlds start by relationship building. And then you get that ultimate goal, especially when everybody's on the same page. I'm so glad you mentioned NILs though, Paul, because you're talking about, players and their eligibility and then the next steps. With the COVID year and NIL, there's a couple of new little wrinkles in your world as an NFL PA and the certified, you have so much interest in the player's future with that extra year of eligibility and NIL. There's this like, we have this to think about now too. Maybe there's another year before you go into the NFL. Those conversations have to be difficult, interesting, exciting, like all the above.
Oh, absolutely. And oftentimes, athletes are coming to us for advice, for opinions, right? And just like in my legal career, whether if I'm advising,
advisory, yes.
Right, it really is advisory, because even when I'm doing criminal law, right, I can say, hey, I think you should take the stand, or hey, I don't think you should take the stand. But ultimately, it's their decision of what they want to do, right? So I try to empower the athletes and their families the same way, which is, hey, based on my experience, based on my representation of other athletes, this is what I believe would be the best choice for you all. But ultimately, you guys have the opportunity and the ability to choose that for yourself. So the COVID stuff was crazy. A lot of athletes did end up going back for an additional year. Actually an athlete that represented last year's draft, Akil Byers, who ended up getting signed as a priority free agent to the Green Bay Packers and just flew out to the Montreal Alouettes of the CFL yesterday.
Nice.
He was someone that was considering coming out and then, decided to stay that extra COVID year.
Did he stay with the same team or did he transfer portal? Because that's another aspect that really, there's a lot on the table for you to advise the future of your clients.
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. So he did stay with Mizzou, but, it definitely was something that was discussed. He was picking my brain, and so was his mother, about whether or not it was a smart idea to transfer.
Sure. Yeah, because it's information is power.
Yes.
And I always like to say, like, look, I got an opinion and it's based on the information I have. And I reserve the right to change my opinion based on new information. So, giving them everything to get the most educated decision-making process. Like we always say, whether you're buying a home, you got to know your numbers. You got to know all the details of what's happening. And now we're not buying a home necessarily, but we're buying their future, right? Essentially buying into their future. Beautiful thing.
And one of the things I've noticed, Johnny, of just watching like this world, because I'm not used to being this whole world, I'm just like dabbling in it, is there's quite a bit of corruption and underhanded things that happen under the table. I hear the terms bags of money, give me a bag, and stuff like that. And, I've seen Paul, that just doesn't happen. He does everything strictly by the guidelines. And these kids, a lot of the kids I see, they're not used to being in the position that they are. They've been practicing to get to this point. They have sometimes grandiose expectations of really what's going to happen in their mind. And they start going astray and like kind of doing things that aren't in the guidelines. And the last thing I think I would want to do after working out my whole life, trying to get to this point, is start breaking the rules before you even get into the league, right? Like, why would you want to start off your career that way?
I think, unfortunately, these guys are they don't have a lot of the information coming into the league. They're almost preyed on by a lot of these guys. And, coming from the accounting side and the CPA side, I'm sitting down with my clients and talking to them, and I'm asking them, hey, did you get this? Did you get, and I would always hear the same types of things, from, well, not always. Some of them were happy with their agents, some of them aren't happy, but I was having trouble, finding ways to get the tax benefits done with the contracts and getting agents that would listen to what I'm saying to help them proactively, even if it's just setting their withholding on their W-2 so that they don't end up with like too much not enough tax withheld. Like if they fill out their forms wrong, I mean, they're literally just going to owe a bunch of money because the amount of money they're making. If they put too many exemptions, they're not going to take enough tax out. So on the front end, most agents aren't open to like letting the CPA work with their clients and get involved and kind of talk to them. And Paul was open to being educated and letting me talk to him about that type of stuff. So we've been able to bounce some ideas off.
And the idea.
Can I ask a question based on that?
Yeah.
Is there a reason to protect? I feel like there's like gatekeeping in a way, right, from the agents.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for their benefit, right? I'm talking personally for them as an agent. Is there a reason to shield their client from you, the CPA, in these aspects? Because I just don't see how they can fracture each other. I just don't see like working cohesively together would be for the benefit of the player, the client. Why wouldn't they want that or encourage that? Even?
Yeah, you're hitting it right on the head. And that's kind of when I got into it, what I was expecting. And I tell the client something, they talk to the agent, nothing would ever get facilitated back to me.
So I think about conversations we had years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And we're having these, this is like prior to you, the first mention in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, why aren't they just helping you change a little bit of wording in a contract that can be a huge benefit to their player, their client, and they're pushing back on you to just, all you need to do is change this verbiage. And you can save them thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you just can't even quite get that cooperation.
Right. Some of them are open to it. Some of them, the majority of them haven't been open to it. So
what is it, Paul? Do you think that the agents are just afraid about going up against the team and trying to, because the way Jarrett describes it is the way he wants to tweak the contracts is not affecting the tax obligations of the team itself. It's just helping out the athlete, right? It's just
outside of the. I think it's outside of the norm. There's a lot more guaranteed money now, and you're able to, that guaranteed money presents some opportunities that were more difficult in the past to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
But there was case law of guys taking advantage of it. You just had to have a ton of leverage in those situations. But now that there's more guaranteed money in football, the things like guaranteed signing bonuses, that's more common now. And the agencies didn't have that language in their contracts before, or they didn't have the right language in their contracts before. And that's the, to me, that's the thing that Paul pays attention to. He'll listen to the advice if I have a suggestion for him, as long as it's, within the rules. Right.
Of course.
And so, that's what we've been looking for, is someone that we could work with that, would be able to, listen to us and help us educate the clients and help us save them money and keep more money in their pockets.
I've got a question for Paul based on that. So Paul, when you're a kid and you're trying to get into the pro sports and you got to pick an agent, this kind of stuff is going to be way over their heads. Even if you were a smart kid, it's got to be way over your heads, like learning about this kind of stuff. So what is the right way that an athlete should be choosing their agent, and what kind of characters, qualities, and characteristics should they be looking for in their agent? Because everybody's going to say they're their best and they're going to do the best for them and everything.
That's right.
So how do you know who's the real deal and who isn't?
Yeah, I think it really comes down. I don't think that there's one model, right? I'll be honest. I could sit here and say that every agent should have these three things, but I think that each athlete is going to have a different personality trait or a different connection with their agent, but finding that connection is important, right? Yeah. Now, I do think there are underlying similarities that would probably lead to success between that player and that agent having a good relationship. And overall, you always want to have that trust, right? Because you really, just like on the field, you need to trust your teammates. This is your teammate off the field.
Right.
So you need to have that trust and understand that when I'm out here playing football, I know you got my back and are worrying about things on the back end. And so then it's like, okay, well, trust is a broad word. So how do you get there? I would say, communication and transparency, right? Because at the end of the day, you hear all these horror stories, and I represent athletes right now who have had previous agents, who fired their previous agents because their previous agents, at least what the player was telling me, weren't being transparent with them, weren't communicating with them. And I always tell these athletes when they come over to me is, hey, I'm a lot of things. I'm also, and I've now done 5 draft classes, done 21 NFL contracts over the last 5 years. So it's not that I'm a complete novice, but obviously I know that there are agents that have more experience than me. But what I can promise these athletes is that, hey, you came to me, you told me that you wanted to talk about me representing you. You told me that you had trust issues with your previous agent. I can promise you this. I will communicate with you, whether good or bad. I will be transparent with you, good or bad. So a lot of the time when I'm getting responses from NFL teams, I'm screenshotting those and sending them to the athlete. So if a team likes what they're seeing in this player and telling me good things, the player will receive that. But in the same breath, if that team says, "Hey, we're not interested at this time," I'm sending that to the player so they don't just have to hear from me.
Right.
Oh, XYZ teams don't like you. No. These are the teams that specifically said, hey, we're good right now, or hey, he needs to work on this, so that they're getting live time, transparent communication. And to me, that's the most important thing that I've seen has worked and been successful for me, and probably the biggest complaint that I've heard from other athletes.
So I got a question based on what you just said. So you talk about experience, right? Your experience versus other agents. So you're a lawyer. You've been in a courtroom. You've held court with a jury. Like you're in that. That to me, when you're in, if you're good at what you do in a courtroom, that's the it, right? That's the it. So you're going to be a good negotiator, right? You're going to be confident in what you're doing and delivering. So what experience are we talking about then? Are we talking about relationships that are built in the NFL? Because you hear that all the time. Well, this agent's got all these players on that team, so they got a better deal making, right? It's just, to me, that feels like there's some element there, right? But it doesn't feel like all of it. So experience, what exactly do you mean by experience? Because for me, you have all the experience.
No, I love hearing that.
Right?
And I appreciate that. And that was something that when I first started out as an agent, that what you just stated is what I was preaching, right? So I started my agency when I was in law school doing marketing for my former Florida State teammates who were now in the NFL. Because to take the agent exam, to NFLPA certified contract advisor exam, you have to have either a law degree or a graduate degree.
Yeah, and you pass in the bar. So, right, what's the next step?
Exactly.
Now
exactly.
Get NFLPA stamped here.
So when I was really recruiting and trying to sign my first couple clients, I was probably around 26 years old. And so it really was one of those situations where, them and their family are kind of looking at me saying, okay, well, what have you done? And it's okay, well, I've done marketing with this athlete, and this athlete who were in the NFL. And then like you just stated, and I appreciate you saying that, I've also handled murder cases. Yeah. I've also, went to trial and had people sentenced, to life. Life.
Yes,
and so I've always told them that, not to minimize the importance of their situation. But hey, at the end of the day, this is still a football. This is still a business contract. And unfortunately, I've had to have much more uncomfortable conversations and be involved in much more uncomfortable negotiations when you're dealing with 20, 25, 30 years to life as part of a plea deal.
And to tell somebody you should take 20 years as a plea deal is a tough sell.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean,
it is.
So, yeah.
And to offer it too. Like when I was worked as a prosecutor, to slide that across the table to a defense attorney is never easy. So once I got past that hurdle, to me, that was the experience. But to answer your question more directly, I think that they want to see someone who has been in this system for maybe 10, 15, 20 years, or maybe who has worked with 10 running backs or 10 wide receivers.
Okay, so it's kind of like show me your stats kind of world.
Yeah,
let me see the back of the card. Do contract levels matter the most? Like look at the bag you got, so and so it was so much guaranteed. Does that matter, or is it like almost like a roster of?
I think it's both. Yeah, I think it's both.
It's all the above.
I definitely think it's all the above. And with rookie contracts.
Well, and also, wouldn't it be like your clients? If you somebody asks your current clients, like a new prospect asks one of your current their perception of you, right? Like that would be a big part of it for sure.
Sure.
No, and Jarrett's right.
Rookie, there's not so much negotiation you can do in rookie, right? I mean, you're your parameters are pretty thin now. Like there's only so much you can wiggle, right? Especially like first round, right?
Yes.
Or rookie at all, but first round, like really locked in.
Right. You know, for players who are drafted, you know, it's slotted draft pick values based on really the number of picks that
Sam
that team has.
Bradford days are long ago.
Exactly.
Right?
No, but just
Exactly.
talking about like what Jim said, like how do you choose an agent? And it's like, okay, well, I think, you know, all these things are important, but one thing the guys can relate to that's really simple is like call one of their current clients and see if they're happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
right,
a pretty
exactly.
easy thing to do. You know what I mean? And maybe you don't have their number, but somebody these guys knows somebody that knows, you know, and if they really want to talk to them, then, you know, they can always ask the agent for a referral to talk to one of their guys. And Paul can put one of his guys, I'm sure, on the phone with a prospect. I mean, you guys are allowed to do that, right?
Yes. Yeah. And even some of my clients, you know, mothers or parents, you know, they've always said, "Hey, I'm happy to speak to, you know, one
Even
of your
better.
prospective
Oh, that's
future
awesome.
clients."
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's a huge
and
help. You do
that's
with mom, and usually
You get somebody's mom.
and that's a badge of
Yeah.
honor for me, really. Like when these athletes and their families are willing to say, "Hey, you know, Paul really fought for us, did everything he could, kept us informed," you know, that means the world to me.
Do you get access to like
That's Paul's Mother's Day.
Mother. You get access to like the rookie symposiums and stuff like that? Do you get access to all the incoming classes?
There's
like
not
in big groups.
There's not really, you know, a universal access. You know, if we're trying to, you know, potentially recruit, are you talking about someone before they're in the NFL or once they're in the NFL?
Both.
Okay,
either. Because I know the rookie symposium is for the rookie class for the NFL.
Right.
And I think they have some agents speak there. At least my layman education on it. I've read that. But I would think it'd be beneficial not only for the players, but to like have access to some agents. And I know that there's a concern of like maybe some corrupt aspect, but the ability to talk with some people ahead of time as they're planning.
Right.
And I don't know what level you can have access to these athletes, but
It's
on a broad, like here's a bunch of kids to talk to at once would be awesome for them and you.
No, I agree. And so there's different access levels, and then kind of depending upon where the athletes are at in their career, kind of dictates what we as agents can do
legally.
Right. And so one of the things that I've had the unique opportunity to do in the past is every year there's a all-star bowl in Florida called the Tropical Bowl.
Yeah.
And I've had athletes in there every year. And, you know, in addition to the Tropical Bowl, they have the FCS Bowl for some of the D2 or HBCU athletes that are trying to get some additional recognition.
Nice.
They've done a great job of inviting agents to come speak to these athletes, because sometimes these athletes who are in the Tropical Bowl, who are in the FCS Bowl, don't have the opportunity to meet with agents and hear kind of what you're talking about.
And don't have the opportunity just because the agents don't go to them, don't have that platform. Like I'm kind of asking
all
about.
of it. Yeah. Because I mean, if you're not at a top tier Division I program, you know, you might not be having the same people come speak to you.
Only so many days in a week, in a month, in a year, and you only have so many hours in a day, right?
Right. And these athletes, you know, so many of them are fantastic. You know, I've represented the athletes from the HBCU level, from the D2 level, and I've had them make it to the NFL, right? Make it to the CFL, make it to the USFL. So it really is about giving these athletes exposure to agents, but also, just like you said, exposure for the agents to the athletes.
Yeah. Awesome.
I wanted to just show a little tighter correlation between me and Paul specifically, because I'm part of the KWSC. One of the things I do is over the last 2 years, I guess, I've sponsored some of the draft parties for some basketball players and NFL players. And getting involved in that, just watching the nervousness of everybody, the excitement, you know, all of that.
You've done a great job getting them places, man.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been awesome.
Yeah,
I've watched you setting stuff up, running around, trying to get it all together last minute, I think that just shows, you know, the resources Paul has for his clients, being able to, you know, help them get a place, you know, for the draft party by having a resource like you know, all that stuff. It shows how much he cares, you know?
Yeah. Last
100%.
year I sponsored Antoine Owens, who ended up going to USFL, and he made the championship game. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's on I think he's a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and he recovered a fumble at the end of the pre-championship game to get into the championship that turned the tide for the game in the final seconds of the game.
Yes.
So that's awesome. And then this year, also last year, I sponsored Keon Ellis
Yeah.
from the Sacramento Kings. He's going to be going into a new contract this year. That was exciting. We were up in Orlando for that. And this year we had Jaleel Billingsley, who just got picked up by the rookie minicamp for the Tennessee Titans, correct?
Yes, he's out there right now.
That's so awesome. I hope you kick butt out there, Jaleel.
Yeah, and I think Paul didn't somebody just signed that went from the NFL to the CFL back to the XFL to the NFL.
Yes.
You share that
Yes.
doesn't happen. I mean, I don't see that happen too often where guys end up, staying with an agent, coming out of the NFL, go to another league, and then that same agent brings them back, right? Like to the NFL. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's Jacquez Patrick, former Florida State running back.
Nice.
He might have scored some touchdowns against the Gators.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
It wasn't a low blow there, Johnny. I was just
But no, Jacquez is one of my favorite people I've ever worked with.
Just to make the
there we go.
Johnny mad.
We used to be dudes. We worked together forever. This radio station's home of the Florida Gators.
That was a quick pull-up. That was a quick pull-up. But no, Jacquez Patrick, he's someone that came right after. So when I got finished playing at Florida State, my last game was a national championship game against Auburn. I went to law school that fall. And that's really kind of when Jacquez came into Florida State. And, he's someone that I really love representing because he's a businessman. He understands it. He's a professional. He's been on multiple NFL teams over the last few years. And, and he started out his career actually by, going because he kind of came out during that COVID time period where it was tough to really get access to teams, right? And so he went to the original XFL, or not the original Vincent Man, but the second that kind of the second round of the XFL, and had a great time there, and then got signed to the Bengals. And so going back to the XFL was something that he was prepared to do because he had been there before. But, it's one of those things that athletes, especially of his caliber, they want to play at the highest level. So
of course,
it was always the goal. Hey, this is a short stint. This is for you to go showcase your skills and versatility.
Kind
and
of like it's a contract year. Right?
Exactly. 100%. And get your reps out there. And now he is back with the Denver Broncos minicamp this weekend. And they got him working, a hybrid position of fullback and halfback. Because, he's a big, bruising, powerful halfback.
And Sean Payton's going to run the rock.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So if he can get a little rotation going there, he might shine.
Oh, absolutely. So we're excited about this opportunity. And the Broncos are a unique team, too, because they actually have Justin Simmons, their starting safety. I played high school football with him at Martin County High School.
Nice.
And, he's just one of the best one of the best young men I've ever met in my entire life. And I had a previous client with Denver. So it's kind of those worlds colliding for this opportunity.
That's really cool.
If you're just tuning in and you're like, oh, there's new voices today. Well, familiar. It's been a while. It's Jarrett Perry with Perry CPA Group. And Paul Aloise joins us for the very first time today. Now, Paul and Jarrett have been working together with a lot of professional athletes, and Jim as well. So Jim DePola, our fearless leader always, you may not know, is with the KWSE. That's the, what is there, like 1,000 agents, I think?
About 1,000 agents.
Yeah.
Top tier agents across the nation that are
awesome.
selected to work with Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Agency.
Really cool.
It is really cool. And you work with not only Jerry, with Perry CPA Group, with a lot of athletes in the upper echelon entertainment world, but that's where Paul comes involved as well. So Paul is NFLPA certified contract advisor and lawyer, y'all. Yeah, that's right. And owner of Renegade Sports and Entertainment. So like cohesively, the three of you, for athletes to get involved, get their contracts, get their future, get their taxes right, plan for their future, their money future, their real estate. It all comes together. We get this like little quadfecta going on in the studio, right?
When the athletes are trying to get ready to get into the draft or get picked up by a professional team, what advice do you have for them about trying to get mentally and physically prepared to do that? Like, what advice do you have along the way? Because they're probably under a lot of pressure for like 8 months, 9 months before they actually get, let's say, to the combine or do something or one of the bowl games, to showcase the athletes. What do you do in order to help them get prepared for that?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest advice I would give any athlete that's listening to this or any families of athletes that are listening to this is really not so much on the physical side. I'll touch about that in a minute. But over the last my 5 years of really working in this industry is helping the family and the athletes understand things from the mental side and get prepared for things from the mental side. Because, oftentimes these individuals who even have an opportunity at the NFL have always been the best athlete in the room in high school, middle school, oftentimes college, one of the best in your college, right? So it was always expected. Okay, now after this year, I'm going to go play varsity football. Okay, after this, I'm going to go play D1 football. Well, after that college football career is over, unfortunately, you don't have that NFL guarantee anymore. And so it's, to me, what I've seen is sometimes it's a big, wake up call or aha moment in these athletes' families' lives of, wow, I thought this was going to go differently. Or, oh, wow, I didn't know there was this much involved in getting there. And so really it's about the mental side of it and getting them to understand that this truly is a privilege, right? It's not a guarantee. This is a privilege. And if you take advantage of it, it can be taken away from you just as quickly as it was given to you. And that this is now a business. You are now a businessman or businesswoman, right? I say businessman because I'm working with NFL athletes, but when these college athletes, male or female, are leaving the college ranks to go pro, you are now a business. And so if you're not waking up every day like all of us do for a normal job and treating it as such, your job's going to get taken because it's a highly
what's
competitive
crazy
field.
we have mutual clients, and I've literally been on the phone with Paul and heard him give the client this conversation, these details, like this can be taken away from you. It literally can be taken away from you. And you have to let them know that, because they can also use this as a opportunity to set themselves up for life, right? Like, so you could go either way with it.
Yep.
And
You have a player, Jarrett, that you're very close working relations with, Jalen.
Yep.
And Jalen, I don't know if we should mention the name, but
Jalen Watkins, he's a good friend of mine, and he played years in the NFL, and he was one of the guys that
Watkins, that Watkins.
He's from UF.
The Watkins
he is a Gator. And
but Jalen didn't have like a super long career or anything, right?
No,
he had like the average NFL
spent
career.
a couple years on the practice squad and on the IR, and a couple years playing actively.
But what I love that because Jalen connected with Jarrett, Jalen has done very well financially, even though he wasn't like a superstar like his brother Sammy, right?
Yep.
Am I wrong about that? And what he's done is he's taken his NFL money, treated it like a business, and started investing in and doing stuff. And now he's doing very, very well. And he is a young businessman,
100%,
doing very well,
100%.
And that's the thing about working with Jarrett and Jarrett's connections to Renegade Sports, when the clients are, are connected, whatever, the benefits of not just coming and say, hey, you're my agent, just get me on the team. It isn't like that. Jarrett's behind the scenes. If you hire Jarrett as the accountant, talking about how to, he's always looking for your future, not just like right now. So he'll be the one to tell you, don't go buy that bling bling house right now. This isn't the right contract. When you get into your next contract and you got the real money, that's when you do the bling bling. Or don't go even buy a house right now, because you don't even know if you're going to stay with this team for a long period of time. Get situated first.
Sure.
Right?
When I guess even the planning goes even into so what's the level for the pension in the NFL? Is it 5 years?
Well, so if you have 2 credited seasons,
they don't make it super easy.
It's not super easy, but there's different levels, right? So once you have 2 years of credited seasons, if I remember correctly, 2 years you're entitled to certain benefits of severance pay. And then as you move on, I believe it's 3 years you're entitled to certain benefits as well. So there's kind of a tiered system.
Tiered, but there's like boom, you're getting pretty sweet money for the rest of your life.
Yeah, after you have so many accreditations, right? Then they can have these cash accumulation plans.
But even that's involved with like the planning of the future.
That's
right.
right.
You got to see the forest or the trees through the forest, like all of that.
And one of the big things, and I've heard Paul once again say this to them while he's on the phone, and I say it to him as well. But they have to be able to get themselves in the right situation and take care of themselves before they can take care of their parents.
Yep.
Before they can take care of their friends.
Yep.
Before they can take care of anybody else. And I think that's probably the biggest issue one of the biggest issues out there.
Yeah. I just saw a little TikTok thing, and I'm sure it's a little bit old, but it was Shaq, right? So Shaq was out there, and he was talking about when he was a rookie, and he got 20 million signing bonus.
Probably said something like,
right?
when I was a rookie, I got a 20 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he
You
made
don't know
20
about that,
million.
Chuck.
He had $20 million. He thought it was rich,
pretty good.
right? He went out, he bought
Not
like
great,
a
but-
$5 million house. He bought his mom a house. He bought a bunch of cars.
Yeah.
He gets 90 days after he got the money,
And
and
now
the
I was
accountant
broke. I had
calls
no
him
money.
up.
I said, I need money.
You're broke.
Got no
Yeah,
money.
and then he had to file his taxes, and he was under withheld.
And yeah, and he's broke. And Shaquille's like, I didn't spend 20 million. He goes, no, you got to pay your income taxes. You got to pay your agency fees.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to pay this. You got to pay this. Got to pay this. You don't have 20 million, but you already spent it. So that first rookie year, that's when he realized, hey, I got to treat this like a business. And look what he's done.
Look at him now. Yeah.
So
we did a thing with Student Aces with a
Mm-hmm.
charity that works with the top athletes in the schools where, I went over there and was talking to the kids. They're really receptive to this information. These are the top athletes out in Belgrade and Pahokee and Miami. And, talking to them brought one of them up and said, hey, you just signed your contract. It's $3 million. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with the money? And he's like, I'm going to buy my mom a house. I'm going to buy me a house, I'm going to do. And I'm like, okay, well, out of that 3 million, you're really only going to have to spend. You've already spent more than you're going to have net because you're only going to keep about half of it. If you're lucky and not in a really high income tax state. Right. So, I think that's kind of like a good measure is like, you're going to be stuck with half of it, and half of $1 million is still a lot of money, but it's not
tied to go
enough
bling
to
bling.
set you up for life unless
Yeah.
you really are tight and plan the right way.
And that's one thing about the Perry CPA group. When you go to them, they're trying to set you up for life.
Yep.
That's the bottom line. And Paul, of course, with Renegade Sports, for any athletes, even if they're not using Jarrett, he's going to give you the advice for the long term, not just the short period. And one of the things that I love about the Perry Group CPA is how long your relationships have been with the athletes.
Yeah.
Even after they leave whatever sport they're playing, because you have a lot of different type of athletes. But as soon as they leave their sport, they're still with Jarrett, and Jarrett's still trying to figure out ways to make them money, offer them investment opportunities, giving them tax shelters and tax breaks the best way possible, which is just going to keep you going. And talking about treating your career like a business, it's the same thing. I train real estate agents, and the same thing with real estate agents. There's so many real estate agents that get their license and just think they're going to make money. No, it's a business. You're starting a company.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And you got to treat it like a company, which means you go to work every day, you put time in. I always tell the agents we talk to, so why you want to become a real estate agent? Because, I don't want to work 40 hours a week because I want to spend more time with my kids and everything. Great. How much money do you want to make? They always say the same thing. They all say they want to make $100,000 a year. Well,
magic number.
The National Association of Realtors, less than 4% of all realtors in the country make $100,000 a year. 4%. Is that crazy?
That's crazy. That's a crazy statistic. Actually,
nobody knows that, right? Everybody thinks, realtors, they all make money. The average realtor in Florida makes $29,000 a year in income.
Wow.
Why? Because they're not treating it like a business. They don't
go
go
to
to
the
work
beach.
every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
And then, so you can't start something and just say, I'm going to do it part-time and I'm going to make lots of money. Unless you're very blessed. Maybe you're super talented. Maybe you got a little luck. Okay. But if you don't want to rely on that, and you want to make your future, you got to treat it like a business. And that's what I love about Paul's philosophy with the kids. You're a businessman now.
Oh, absolutely. And
got to put your big boy pants on, right?
Quickly too. It really is.
You have to build your team to make sure you're getting the right advice so that you don't make mistakes that affect you outside. And you have to have a good team like that so you can focus on your profession, the sport of doing well, and not worrying about all that ancillary stuff, because that's another thing I see working with you guys. They're
I hear
overwhelmed. They're
players
so
all the time.
busy.
Jim, I hear players all the time go, I let my agent deal with that. And I often think, I'm like, come on. No, you don't. But if you have that relationship, that team built around you, right? I can see that sweet place where they're like, I know I'm in good hands. I think it's just human nature. You're going to think about your contract, but I'm in good hands. I let my pros deal with that. Right.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing, because then you can concentrate on being the best athlete on the field.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the one thing I think that me having played at a high level at Florida State really gave me insight to, right? Because it really goes back years. People used to say, college athletes don't need to get paid. They can go get a job. I don't think anyone understands, unless you're really in it how time consuming being an athlete is.
Well, student athlete too,
Well,
by the way.
yeah, even going back to student athletes, but me understanding from a student athlete level, even still only scratches the surface of a professional athlete, right? It's
Because
not
once
just
they
the
finish
practice.
school too, right? Like from the time from school ends to the draft, like they have to have something in place.
Oh,
right? Yeah,
absolutely.
like-
And like it's not just the practice or the game, it's the weight training, it's the running, it's then getting the treatment for your body. It's studying film, it's studying plays. So they don't just work a normal 9 to 5. So that's why having the right people around them and having that trust is key, because at 8:00 at night, I remember the last thing I wanted to do was go study for the bar exam, or go study for the LSATs at that time, because my body, I'm not just tired physically or tired mentally. Like my body hurts. I'm bruised up. I've been up since 6 a.m. I've done a workout. I've done practice. I've watched film. I'm drained. Last thing they need to do, at least at that time, is review a bunch of documents. So yes, I always say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. Please take a look at it. Please pass it along to your family, or hey, I sent it to your mom to look at as well. But having someone else that they trust to help aid in matters in life, I think, are huge.
Huge. Absolutely.
It is. It's huge. And if anybody's listening and they got kids that are coming up and they got plans to be in pro sports, you got to think of Renegade Sports and Entertainment for sure. And if you need a good accountant, you got to
100%.
go to Perry CPA Group. This guy specializes in athletes.
I might go for that NFL career I dreamed about.
There
I
you
haven't
go.
given up my
There
dream
you
yet.
go.
Yeah. Sitting here with Paul's got me thinking again.
We'll get you back in the swamp.
Yeah, I'm like, man, if I got the right
excited.
people around me, I can put all my efforts into not making it.
One of the things.
Oh, man. You just flip the switch.
He's rehired. Right?
I got it. I know when my butter's buttered his bread.
I knew he wasn't going to leave you hanging. I was expecting that.
I kind of thought he was.
Speaking about working out and everything, one of the things, because I'm not like really in detailed with sports the way you guys are. I kind of like, I like sports. I'm more into the personal human stories about the sports. To me, that's what it's about. It gives me inspiration watching these kids like going for it all. They're throwing everything that they got on the table, and sometimes they, get the elation, the heights, the elated heights, and sometimes they get very deflated.
Yeah.
Last year, it was very stressful for me when both the people we sponsored didn't get picked up in the draft, the NBA guy or the NFL person. And I know that one of them was pretty upset, but they both ended up getting into professional sports anyway.
Right.
So you go through that high, then you get the low, and then
even just being like you said, affiliated with it, right?
Mhm.
Like
I get
you
stressed
felt it.
for him. I
Yeah.
get stressed for the kids,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
get stressed for him, happy stress, like excited for them, but also know what they're under.
Yeah.
And their parents too. Their parents are under a lot of stress. They've groomed their kids. Think of all the times they've taken their kids back and forth to the sporting activities their whole lives.
Right.
Doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
picking them up, dropping them off, doing all that stuff, watching all the stuff, and now the big moment. And
It's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah,
there's only in the NFL. There's only 227
I thought it was 260
kids
or something like
How many?
that.
How many
maybe?
picks are?
260.
There's usually some compensatory picks, so it
Yeah.
ends up in the 260s.
Okay, but that's it. Only that many will hear their names called.
In the whole
Yeah.
world.
That's it.
In the whole world.
And there's a lot to that which people don't see, because there's guys literally getting signed like as the free agents are getting signed, like as the last rounds of the right, Paul, they're getting kind of negotiated with the draft.
Yeah, teams will call with
Mm-hmm.
interest for players.
Yes.
That those are the ones we call priority free agents. We're not allowed to truly negotiate until the draft immediately ends. But you will get calls from teams who are showing interest, who are asking about other interests, because now it's really like a big checkerboard, right? Chessboard, that they're trying to move pieces around frantically. And okay, hey, this guy's interested. Oh, by the time I called him back, he signed with so and so. So that free agency period is hectic. It's fun, and but it is stressful, because if you pass up an opportunity, I was just texting with another newer agent that I know, and I asked him how the draft went, and he said that they had some rookie minicamp invites. And unfortunately, he had been hearing from some teams that they might sign him as a free agent. So he passed up the rookie minicamp, went back to the teams that we're talking about free agent contracts. those were those were no longer available.
Oof.
And when he went back to the rookie mini camp
Gone.
options, gone.
Yeah.
So you have to have the ability to speak with your athletes and their families quickly and be able to have those difficult conversations.
Another thing that I was really, it was insightful for me to watch is how the agent helps with the training. Like I didn't understand that. I didn't think about that. So like they go to they
want to make sure they're perfected, right? They're getting the right resources to make sure they top at the right time, right? Like, so you want to make sure everything comes together right at that pro day or whatever, right, Paul? That's the goal, is to set up the training so they peak right when it's time to show off in front of the team.
And speaking of like turning your career into a long-term investment, Jalen and his brother, they opened up a D1 up in the Fort Myers area.
They're about to open a second one. Yeah.
Oh, are they going to do that?
I think so.
And explain what D1 is, Jarrett, again. It's like
it's a training facility for, it's like a gym with membership, but it's more geared towards athletes,
high caliber
and training kids and high caliber athletes to get them to the next level. They have a lot of professional guys that train there. I think Tebow owned one of them at one point, one of the D1s I remember hearing, but a lot of athletes buy into it. It's a franchise for
and now Jalen's using that, to make extra money, right, as one of his business enterprises.
100%.
And the athletes have, with the connections with Jarrett and Paul, if people wanted to go there, they can
like
plug them
pre-draft
right in.
training and things like that. That's what he also offers that as well, like we were talking about before.
And so that part, like there's all this stuff behind the scenes when and like the contracts. This is one thing I want to ask as a regular person. When you're reading about all these contracts where it's like guaranteed money, and you're reading like some of these quarterbacks, I think what was it, Lamar Jackson just signed for $250, I think, for 5 years or something like that, but an astronomical amount of that was like guaranteed money. Is it really guaranteed? It's really guaranteed.
The guaranteed part is.
I mean, the situation I had, the guy walked off the field and he got the money. So
he did get the money even though he walked off the field.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's guaranteed.
Okay,
I mean, that's
really guaranteed.
If it has the right clause in it, like I said before, the signing bonus. It depends if it's guaranteed, right, Paul? I mean, there's guaranteed money and there's signing bonuses, but the typical signing bonus, it's not, it's spread out. You earn it over the contract, right, Paul?
Yeah. So there's different ways you can structure it. Signing bonuses can be paid out sometimes over the course of a period of time, and signing bonuses and guaranteed monies are beneficial for both the team and the player, right? Because a team can actually prorate that guaranteed money over the course of the contract. So there's pros and cons to how you're structuring it.
But you hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
We're going to rework his deal to get $7 million more in cap room over here.
Right. And Tom Brady used to do that all the time, because if you renegotiate and then you can spread that money out instead of all hitting at once for the team's salary cap.
Right.
Now it's prorated over the course of that player's contract
Still
to
gonna
free
get
up
paid.
cap room. The player's going to get paid.
And that's why the agent needs to be working with the CPA, and they need to work together, because when they prorate it like that, it's got benefits, but it's also got cons associated with it too. That makes it where if you're trying to shift it to that residency state, like we were talking about before, if it's considered earned over the contract, like he's saying, then it gets spread out based on where you earn it.
So there could be situations where, Paul's got some quarterback on Team X, and they want to rework his deal to be a little bit more cap friendly for the next year. And he gets in touch with you and you're like, oh no.
Because I'm listening to what you guys are saying. I'm like, that absolutely, that happens. But like we're talking about the signing bonus, that would kill what we were
you could be like, no, you can't do that. You're going to crush him. Here's why. But you could do this, and then Paul could go back and be like,
100%.
But that's the communication between you and Paul. That's a huge benefit for your clients is,
you got it.
You can see the no, you can't do that. You're gonna screw him.
100%. And even sometimes, my athletes obviously work with different financial advisors, right? Different NFLPA certified financial advisors. But sometimes I'm having conversations with them, and obviously my specialty is law and the contract advisor standpoint. So maybe I'll go listen to another financial advisor who is working with one of my athletes. And then just from my own knowledge to be able to effectively discuss this with my clients, come back to Jarrett and say, hey, man, this is what I'm hearing, or this is what we're talking about doing. What's your opinion?
Right.
Or what are the things that I'm not thinking about? Right.
Yep.
And so that's why, as much as, we have had clients in common, he has been such a huge benefit to me just from a knowledge standpoint.
As
right?
a CPA.
As a CPA.
Yeah, really
and just
good
someone
one,
who, it's fantastic.
To the stars.
And that's the thing, is like being able to call someone that I have, a personal relationship with, but also a professional relationship with.
You
It's so
trusting,
important.
professional, personal, like it touches all the feels, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And it's great to have that, right? And that's the same relationship that I think he and I have with one another is the same that we each have with our athletes, which is why we got along and clicked so quickly, because we truly care about you always hear in law, best interest of the child for juvenile law, right? I always say best interest of the athlete.
Right.
And that's something that Jarrett, myself,
100%.
Jim, with
Jim
what you've
too.
done with the housing.
Yeah, cut from the same cloth.
Jim helped so much, 2 weeks ago with the draft, and he literally texted me and said, hey, I'm working, with the owner of the house that we got, for the athlete for the draft. Anything that pops up, I got it. You focus on your job.
Beautiful.
Do you know how amazing that was, Jim? I know I told you on the phone, but I'll tell you now so everyone else can hear. Like, that made me feel so comfortable. And the fact that I didn't have to worry about, a key not being there or an alarm being set off.
ESPN they didn't have ESPN access at the house. Can you imagine?
Right.
So
and
they called me up and said, we
can't
can't
watch
see
the
the draft.
draft.
I'm like,
Right.
oh my
and,
gosh.
And so that's the stuff that took a lot of stress off my plate because, I'm
otherwise,
trying to
Paul, he wouldn't be able to talk to the teams.
Yeah, it's like, why does Paul need to fix the TV to ESPN? He's got other things to be doing.
Yeah, no, it's caring and caring and caring on top of caring. And that's why I'm still doing the show 11 plus years with Jim later, bought my house. Like, I tell folks, look, I get paid to do the radio show, but I don't have to be here every Saturday. I choose to. Yeah, the money's nice, but I want people to know about there are people that really care about your outcome, that invest in a lot of time in you, even though they get no return now. It's about future, right? It's about future. It's about, I really care where things are going for you and about giving you the right information, get you on the right path, and help you navigate your way there and then be a part of the ultimate success. And that's, again, why you guys kind of all work together so well. And it's great to have you here on a Saturday representing so well, all of you. You're all to the stars, by the way, in my mind.
And Paul, you also do MBA, right? Do you do MBA with Tanner?
No. So I don't.
Because you're an FLPA contract advisor, so you're not an agent for the MBA also?
Correct. Okay, the only other sport I ever worked in when I was in law school, I took and passed the MLBPA contract advisor exam, certification. So I worked at the time, with like a 10th round Blue Jays draft pick. But what I realized now, if I was just working as an agent, I absolutely would do multiple areas of sports because I'm just a sports fanatic.
I bet baseball's wild though, because there are so many layers of contracts for baseball. Oh my goodness,
it was heavy. It was heavy.
Well, well, then there's that too.
That's the pro side of it. But to even get there, the one thing I'll say just briefly about that, I think that the listeners would like to hear is that, athletes when they're drafted out of college for football, if they're drafted high, have a lot of money coming into them right away. There's fewer players in MLB, besides those few people who are represented by Scott Boras early on in the first round are really getting paid a significant amount of money. Most of these players have to go in the minor leagues for years.
Right.
And then even after getting through the minor leagues, then, you have that mandatory arbitration period. So I think it takes, and I don't remember exactly, but like 6 or 7 years before you really become a free agent
to get the bag
and can sign that major deal. So it can sometimes be 10 years. A player coming out of high school, they might not get that big contract till 28, 29 years old. So it's worth it, right? If you get there, but that's an uphill battle. So with me being a lawyer and having so much time in the courtroom, I focus on NFL and then NIL with college football players.
Well, that's a lot to focus on, though. So I'm sure all of your clients appreciate that focus too.
Yeah.
Jimmy D, we are short on time. Is there a little focus that we can put on for our next minute?
I just wanted to say, if you have an idea for the name of the sports show, because right now it's called the No Name Sports Show.
Know. The way this went, I don't think we should do it.
In the future,
Florida State time.
We would have liked to have some of the agents.
I thought it went great.
We would have liked to have some of the players come on today, but we couldn't because they're all in rookie mini camp and focusing on what they need to do. But eventually we're going to have athletes come on and talk.
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
about what life is like off the field, not just on the field.
Yeah.
We want to be a
little
full
sneak
experience
behind
on the sports
little
world.
peek behind
little
the-
peek behind the curtains.
Yeah,
Everybody likes to see Oz back there every now and then.
Yeah.
You know? You're like, oh, that's how you do that?
Close that damn curtain.
Yeah, we can get your dog out of here too. Jarrett, thank you very much for coming in, and Paul, thank you for. I know you guys are super busy, and I know it just never stops. But thanks for finding time to come and join us in
Thank
studio.
you for having us.
Yeah,
and if
man,
there is a
happy to be
future to a sports show, hopefully I can be a little part of it.
You know you will be, man.
There will be no Florida State. But for the whole team, thank you for being with us. Always remember, Florida Tech Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You could change lives by just telling somebody about the pros. Look, people are good at what they do. You know people that are good at what they do. But you also know people that you think are good at what they do, and the reality is they suck at what they do. They're awesome people. You want to have dinner with them, give them Christmas presents, all that stuff, but they're just not good at what they do. Go to people that are great at what they do, especially when you're dealing with big things in your life, buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Maybe you're going to sign a professional contract as an athlete. Go to the best of the best. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. For Jarrett Perry CPA and Group, have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers in your life.
Same with you guys. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. It's great being here.
Paul
Thanks,
Aloise,
guys.
Renegade Sports and Entertainment. I'm not going to give you the whole title. Owner, NFLPA certified contract advisor and lawyer. I did. I just gave you the whole
got it. You nailed it.
whether I wanted to or not. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in your life.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
thanks
you
for
as
being
well.
with us.
Absolutely.
And Jim DePola. That's KWSE, Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment. And of course, Keller Williams Innovations, the Florida Home Pros team. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers.
Thank you.
in your
Happy
life.
Mother's Day, everybody, and happy South Florida.
Timothy, happy Mother's Day, you mother father.
Happy Mother's Day to you too, Johnny.
and
you
all
and
the
your
mothers
mom.
in your life. Yes. Is Greek in town?
Yes, he is.
Is
Matter of
Jo-
fact, they're waiting in the bullpen for you guys to wrap up, and we'll start a locker room show here in a couple
I
minutes.
guess Joe's going to join as well. They're going to squeeze out a sports show for you. Thank you very much for sticking around. We'll be back next Saturday, 2 hours of infotainment, 9 till 11 every Saturday. It's Florida Talk Real Estate, and we're right here on Real Radio.